What's up, you guys? Stoops back in with another video, and today I am bringing you my BFA 8.1 Melee tier list. I'm getting this question all of the time now, what classes are doing the best, so I figure it's a good idea to put this video out there to try and answer some of these questions so you know, or you're better informed on what classes are performing the best inside of 8.1. Now, keep in mind the date of today's video. This tier list can change in a couple weeks with some nerfs, some buffs, who knows? So make sure you're aware of the date of the video before commenting below and saying something that's completely irrelevant to the video that you're watching today. Now, if you are unfamiliar with tier lists, before I dive into this, there are several tiers on tier lists. You might see things like S+, S, B, D, E, you know, it goes all the way down to even F. But currently in the 8.1 meta, I don't believe that there are any classes that are extremely weak when it comes to PvP. I know for PvE it's completely different, but for PvP, there aren't too many. And I decided to break it up in S+, S, A, and B. Now, all of these tiers I would say are pretty damn viable, but obviously S+ being the strongest. But you can make do with any of these classes on this tier list. It's just for informational purposes for some of you guys out there. So hopping right into the tier list, our S+ tier list, this goes to show you that if you like a class, you should just stick with it, because a lot of the classes in the S+ tier are in fact classes that were not performing well in previous patches. Blizzard always does this, so keep this in mind. It's just like a cyclical thing. Classes that aren't doing well are more likely to do well later on in the expansion after some buffs, and classes that are currently doing well are most likely going to get nerfed in the future, just to keep the cycle of life going. But number one on this tier list, it's going to be the Death Knight. Now, Unholy specifically, I am seeing some frost decays here and there, but they are not as effective as Unholy. Unholy is very, very disruptive, and they have an ability called Abomination. Abomination, I believe that's how you spell it. I can't spell it very well. There we go, Abomination. Abomination is very similar to the Basilisk that BM Hunters have. It does a lot of damage. It moves very slow, but when it does connect, it does a ton of damage. Also, Death Knights have a lot of self-sustain. They have a lot of interruption. Necrotic Strike builds up extremely fast, and it's very difficult to heal through. And they have a lot of utility for their team: slows, grips, anti-magic zone. They can steal spells from their opponent. They have a lot of utility for the team, as well as just damage, and just they're a complete package class right now, and they're in a lot of the stronger comps. So it's no surprise to me that they are the S+ tier, and I know many of you are probably aware of this. So if you are playing a Death Knight out there, I'm very happy for you guys, because it's been a long, cold slumber, and it's like Arthas awakening from the fucking frozen throne. Congratulations, it is your time to get that arena rating that you've been wanting to get all season. Now, hopping into the next class for the S+ tier spot, we have Windwalker Monks. Windwalker Monks were not doing well in 8.0, but now they're doing fantastic. A lot of it is due to some of the talent changes and their survivability. Good Karma is now healing them for a huge amount, just like it was in Legion. We also have their honor talents that are fantastic. We have Alpha Tiger, I believe it is, or Alpha Palm. It makes it so that when they Tiger Palm a new target, they get like this Bloodlust buff, 30% extra haste, and that works really well into Fist of Fury. Their Open Palm Strike Azurite trait buffs their Fist of Fury. Fist of Fury also makes it so that they slow by 90%. With Turbo Fist, you can parry a lot. It's extremely good. They're doing a lot of damage. They have high mobility, great team utility, once again, just like Death Knights, and they're in a wide variety of comps just like Death Knights. They work great with double melee. Obviously, Death Knight, Windwalker, Walking Dead does well, but they're also a class that can go into caster comps. You can see Windwalker Ellie doing extremely well with things like Lightning Lasso, and I'm very happy for Windwalkers, because no one wanted to play Windwalkers in the past, but now, because of some of these changes, they're one of, if not the best melee class in 8.1. And that is it for me in my S+ tier. There are a lot of classes that are still very strong in the S tier, but these two classes in my mind stand out to be some of the strongest all-around melee classes. For the first class going into the S tier, I'm going to put Demon Hunters. Demon Hunters are still very, very strong. They did see some changes to their mana burning abilities, with Mana Rift getting nerfed and how long they need to be in place for, and the Fury cost being put to 50, but still Demon Hunters do absurd damage. They have very, very high damage, and this damage is not only single target pressure, but they also have exceptional cleave damage. They still have their high mobility and excellent team survivability with things like darkness and self-sustain healing, just based on their ability to leech. Blur is still very, very strong cooldown. Obviously, Darkness, as I mentioned before, is a team utility spell, can be used for themselves. Demon Hunters are still a very well-rounded class, and they did not need mana burn to be a class that would be considered an amazing class, an S tier class, maybe perhaps an S plus tier class. Without that, they still perform quite well. Their damage, ability, and sustain makes up for not having an ability that's very frustrating to fight against, known as mana burn. It makes up for all of that, and I think Demon Hunters could be considered an S plus tier class, but for now, I'm going to put them in the S tier. Now, moving on to the next class in the S tier list, I'm going to place the Warrior under this tier, specifically Arms, but Fury is also very, very strong in 2v2s, but Arms Warriors got a nice buff to their utility. Duel, extremely strong, Disarm, Banner, Sharpened Blade got a buff. I mean, Warriors have had great utility, but they got a buff to that, increasing the duration of things like Sharpened Blade by about 2 seconds, I believe, and it's very effective in 3v3s. I think Warriors work well with DKs and with TSG. They're a consistent, constant pressure class that has great team utility and is very durable. Now, their mobility, is a little frustrating when you're playing as a warrior, but you have to have a weakness to be a well-balanced class in this game. Otherwise, you'd probably be in the S plus tier. So mobility might be an issue for warriors. In order to have more mobility, you have to give up things like Stormbolt, and that's not worth it in most cases. But it still makes warrior an effective, strong, great class for people that are starting out the game that want to learn the basic mechanics of World of Warcraft Arena. And I highly recommend warrior to anybody that wants to pick up a melee class that is new to the game. Now, still in this tier, we have rogues. Rogues got a little bit of a nerf in terms of assassination rogues, but rogues still have a lot of viable specs. Assassination still has great consistent pressure